This happened in the fall of 2021, when I was still living with my cousin in a small town on the outskirts of Louisville, Kentucky. The place was quiet. One of those neighborhoods where everyone waves even if they don't know you, and the biggest crime you hear about is someone's garden gnome getting stolen. Safe, peaceful, almost boring. Which is exactly why what happened still feels so impossible. I was 19 at the time, working part-time at a gas station and taking night classes online. My cousin Daniel and I shared a two-bedroom rental that sat at the edge of a cul-de-sac, backed right up against a patch of woods. Not like deep forest or anything, but dense enough that it went on for a couple of miles and you'd probably get lost if you weren't familiar. It was cheap, quiet, and far from our parents, which made it perfect. Daniel worked long hours at a warehouse, so I was used to being home alone in the evenings. I'd spend most nights cooking frozen meals, scrolling TikTok, or gaming until 2 or 3 in the morning. That night was no different. It was a Thursday, sometime in late October. I remember that because the air had just started getting cold and crisp at night, and there were Halloween decorations everywhere, skeletons, cheap cobwebs, pumpkins on every porch. I was sitting in my room, headset on, yelling at strangers in Warzone, when I realized it was getting late and I hadn't eaten. It was around 10:30 p.m. I paused the game and went to the kitchen to heat up a frozen burrito. While it was spinning in the microwave, I noticed something weird. One of the backyard motion lights had turned on. Now, that wasn't unheard of. Sometimes raccoons or stray cats would trip the sensors, and honestly, I didn't even think about it much. But when I glanced out through the sliding glass door that led to the backyard, I swear I saw movement. Like a shadow. Something slipping behind the edge of the shed. I froze. I stared out there for a few seconds, squinting into the darkness. The woods loomed beyond the patchy grass, totally still. Then the light turned off, and it was pitch black again. I told myself it was just an animal and shook it off. I grabbed my burrito, went back to my room, and sat down. But the game didn't feel fun anymore. I kept looking at my window, which faced the side yard. I couldn't see much, but I pulled the curtain shut just in case. About 20 minutes later, I heard it. 3 sharp knocks. I ripped my headset off. It wasn't my front door. It was the back. I crept out of my room, heart pounding, and peeked down the hallway toward the sliding glass door. I didn't want to get too close, but I could see enough from the corner. Nothing. I waited, barely breathing. Nothing. So I stepped closer. Quiet. Barefoot. Like that would somehow help. Still no one there. I flipped on the backyard light. Empty. I opened the door a crack and looked outside. The air was freezing. The grass was damp. No footsteps. No animals. Just the low hum of crickets and the trees swaying in the breeze. I went back inside and locked it again. Harder this time. Now I was starting to feel weird. Not scared exactly, just unsettled. The next hour passed without anything else happening. I tried to go back to gaming, but the vibe was totally off. Every little creak in the walls or pop in the heating system made me jump. Around midnight, Daniel texted me that he'd be working overtime. Wouldn't be home until after 2. I told him no worries and didn't mention anything weird, no point in freaking him out over nothing. I made a cup of tea and sat on the couch scrolling through my phone. That's when the real fear kicked in. There was a face in the window. Not the sliding door. The kitchen window. The one above the sink. It was only there for a second. Pale. Eyes wide. Just high enough to peek in. And then it was gone. I dropped my phone. Literally dropped it onto the floor and jumped up. My heart was pounding so hard I felt it in my ears. I wanted to scream but couldn't make a sound. I didn't even go to the window. I ran straight to my room and locked the door. I called Daniel. straight to voicemail. Then I called 911. I told the dispatcher that someone was in my backyard, maybe trying to break in. She asked if I could describe the person. I said I couldn't. Just a face. A pale face watching me. The operator told me to stay in my room and keep the door locked. Officers were en route. I sat there, shaking, staring at my bedroom doorknob like it was the only thing between me and death. Then came the sound that made my blood run cold. Tap. 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 Not on the window this time. On the wall. Outside. Someone was walking along the side of the house, tapping the wall as they went. Knuckles or maybe metal. I didn't know. Then silence. I waited. Every second felt like a lifetime. Finally, red and blue lights spilled in through the blinds. Police. When I heard the knock at the front door and a voice yell, "Louisville Police." I rushed out to let them in. 2 officers, one older, one younger, searched the backyard with flashlights while I stayed inside. I told them everything. They found nothing. No footprints. No signs of entry. They said it was probably a prank. Some Halloween idiot trying to scare people. They told me to keep the lights on and call again if anything happened. Then they left. I didn't sleep at all that night. And that was only the beginning. After the police left, I sat up until sunrise, every light in the house on, a baseball bat in one hand and my phone in the other. I kept replaying that face in my head, pale, expressionless, just watching. There was something off about it. Not angry. Not scared. Just cold and calm, like it was looking at a bug behind glass. When Daniel came home a little after 2:30 a.m., I was still sitting on the couch. He walked in, saw the lights, and immediately asked what was wrong. I told him everything, every knock, every shadow, the face in the window. At first, he thought I was joking, but the fear in my voice must have convinced him. He did a full check of the house, the shed, the backyard, even the woods. Nothing. No footprints. No signs of a break-in. No one hiding. We chalked it up to a twisted prank, maybe one of those random creeps who gets off on terrifying people. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that. This wasn't some random act. This was someone who knew what they were doing. Over the next few days, everything seemed to return to normal. Daniel stayed home more. I got a few hours of sleep here and there. I convinced myself it was over. That I was safe again. I was wrong. 5 days later, it came back. It was a Tuesday night. Daniel had just left for a night shift. I remember locking every window, every door, just in case. I even moved the couch in front of the back sliding door, not that it would help much if someone really wanted in, but it made me feel better. It was a little after 11 p.m. I had just turned off the TV and was brushing my teeth when I heard it. Tap. 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 Soft. Deliberate. Same rhythm as before. I froze with the toothbrush in my mouth. It was coming from the hallway. Not outside. Inside. I turned off the bathroom light and stood in the dark, holding my breath. Nothing. I crept out slowly, heart in my throat, and turned on the hallway light. Empty. I checked every room. Still empty. I told myself it must have been the pipes, or the heating system. Something innocent. I wish that was true. I went back to the bathroom, finished brushing, and turned off the light again. The house was silent. Then, from behind me, just outside the bathroom window. "I see you." A voice. Whispered. Low. Male. Right. Outside. I dropped everything and ran. I slammed my bedroom door shut and locked it. I grabbed my phone, trembling, and dialed 911 again. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the phone twice before it connected. I could barely speak. The dispatcher asked if I could describe the voice. I said no. I just knew it was him. While I was on the phone, I suddenly heard something heavy hit the side of the house. Bang. Then again. Bang. And again. Closer this time. Bang. I whispered to the dispatcher, telling her someone was trying to get in. She stayed calm, told me officers were already en route. Then came the part that still makes my blood go cold. I heard my name. Not screamed. Not shouted. Just calmly spoken. Lena. Like a friend calling you from across the street. Only I never told you my name. I ran to the window to look, but all I could see were shadows. Shapes. A figure maybe 20 feet away near the tree line. Not moving. Just standing there. Watching. Police arrived 6 minutes later. That was the longest 6 minutes of my life. This time, they brought a dog. Searched the property. Checked the shed. The woods. They didn't find anyone, but the K9 picked up a scent. They said the dog tracked something into the trees and then, nothing. Like the scent vanished. They asked if I had enemies. An ex. A stalker. I didn't. I told them again about the face in the window from the week before. The whisper. The tapping. They took it more seriously this time. Told me to stay with someone for a few nights if I could. I called my mom the next morning, crying. She drove in from Cincinnati that same day and stayed with me for a week. We changed all the locks. Installed new floodlights. Put cameras at every entrance. For a while, it helped. Nothing happened while she was there. But the night she left, the man came back. The night my mom left, I triple-checked everything. Every door locked, every window sealed, the security camera app open on my phone. It was around 10:45 p.m., and Daniel was working another late shift. I sat alone on the couch with the TV volume low and every light in the house on, just waiting for something to happen. I kept checking the backyard camera feed every few minutes. Nothing. Then, at exactly 11:08 p.m., my phone vibrated. Motion detected, backyard camera. I tapped the notification and opened the feed. There he was. Standing in the corner of the frame, just inside the motion light's reach. He wasn't moving. Just standing in the open, like he wanted to be seen this time. Like he knew I was watching. Same pale face. Same dark hoodie. Same dead eyes. He just stared at the camera. Not the house. Not the window. The camera. And then he smiled. Not a normal smile. It stretched across his face like it hurt. Like someone had carved it into his skin. That was the first time I screamed out loud. I called 911 for the third time in 2 weeks. I gave them my name, address, everything, again, and told them the man was back, that I could see him on my camera right now. They told me to stay calm. Officers were being dispatched. While I was on the call, I switched views on the app to the side yard. He was gone from the backyard feed. My stomach dropped. I ran to the front of the house, careful not to get near the windows, and peeked through the peephole. No one. Then I checked the camera app again. Front door camera, nothing. Driveway, empty. Side yard, nothing. Backyard, nothing. I don't know how he moved so fast, or where he went. I locked myself in my bedroom again and just waited. The dispatcher kept talking to me, kept me calm, told me help was close. But then she said something I'll never forget. "Ma'am, are you inside your bedroom now?" I said yes. "Can you confirm your door is locked?" I said yes again. "And, there's no one else in the house?" "No, just me." Then she said, very quietly, almost like she was reading it off a screen. "One of your indoor cameras just went offline." I froze. What? We only had one indoor camera. In the living room. Pointed at the front door. The dispatcher said they'd seen someone walk across the frame. A figure. Quickly. Then the feed went black. She told me to stay put, but I didn't listen. I crept to my bedroom door and pressed my ear to it. Silence. And then, barely audible, the sound of footsteps. Inside. I backed away from the door. The footsteps stopped. Then, right outside my door, a voice. "Lena, can I come in?" Soft. Calm. Like a child asking for permission. I didn't answer. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I don't know how long I stood there, seconds. Minutes. But I swear I saw the doorknob twitch. Just a little. Then I heard it. The window. I turned just in time to see a hand slip inside. The lock had been faulty. I thought I fixed it, but I hadn't. The glass slid open and a foot stepped in over the frame. I screamed, this time with everything I had, and dove for the door, yanked it open, and bolted down the hallway barefoot. Behind me, I heard him stumble. He was inside. I made it to the front door and threw it open just as red and blue lights flashed across the driveway. The timing was almost unreal. I ran straight into the arms of one of the officers. I was crying, shaking, trying to say something, but I couldn't even form words. They went inside. Guns drawn. 3 officers in total. They searched the entire house. He was gone. Gone again. No forced entry. No footprints. No broken glass. Just the unlocked window and the offline camera. They never caught him. Never found fingerprints. Never gave me a name. And worst of all, the footage from the camera that went offline. Corrupted. The police said the file was incomplete and couldn't be recovered. But I saw it, just before it shut off. Just a second of grainy footage. A figure moving across the room. And as horrible as this sounds, it wasn't just that he was inside. It was how he moved. Like he knew exactly where the camera was. Exactly where I'd be. Like he'd been here before. I moved out a week later. Daniel understood. My mom helped me find an apartment in the city, closer to school, people, everything. I still jump when I hear knocks at the door, or when the porch light flicks on by itself. I check the locks 3 times before I go to bed. I sleep with a bat next to the bed. Sometimes I still think about that smile. The way he said my name like he'd been waiting for me. And sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I swear I can still hear it. Tap. 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 Just on the other side of the glass.